Hey!
This is JJ and Alex.
I made a name for myself, I told you I won't be denied.
As you wrap up your day, it's time to get your fix of the teams you live for and the sports you love. This is JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome in, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Happy Thanksgiving Eve to you right here on the program, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. You can join us so many different ways. You can listen, of course, over the airwaves, 97.5, 1280, 102.7 FM HD2. Those are your audio options. You can also go back, or you can also stream it on KSLSports.com. Stream it right there. You can also stream it live with the video feed. And that's where you're going to see our guy Sly with the sunglasses at night. And the studio's extra dark right now. I don't know if they made it a sexy lighting situation for Frank. Is that what happened?
It's holiday themed.
It is. Well, no, because we got the tree up and we got that sparkle in the background. I feel like we need to light a candle in here and have some Bing Crosby. Have some Bing Crosby and some Nat King Cole going on here for some chilled out Christmas. Let's go.
Yeah, where's the spiked eggnog, Alex?
On a Wednesday.
Start this show off right.
Annapolis. Let's hook our guy up.
It's supposed to be the
best
night
listen,
of the year
I know
for
it's
bars.
supposed to. Is that what they say?
Oh, yeah. This
really?
is the drunkest night of the year, they say.
Oh, that's crazy. I would have
The
not.
night before Thanksgiving.
Not being a guy who partakes, I would have thought, your St. Patrick's Day. Why is it that they go, you know what? I'm going to go into that family situation totally hungover. Seems like because you don't want to be
kind of self-explanatory.
I get the part where they're drinking during the situation. I don't know why they go into it.
Oh, because you don't even want to start.
Sweetheart.
No, I'm not feeling it today.
Sweetheart, we're running the turkey trot. Where are you? Huh?
The turkey trot.
So that's what a lot of people apparently are going to be doing tonight. Us, on the other hand, we got you covered. Sly, man, we got lots to get into. I can't wait to jump into this. I haven't been able to actually dissect some of the things that happened in that Utah versus Kansas State game. Mm-hmm. You're, of course, going to be headed out to Lawrence as well. Bottom of the hour, we're going to have our Ute insider for KSLSports.com, Steve Bartle, before he gets on a plane to head out to Lawrence. He'll chat with us as well. We're going to talk all things, but first we got to kick things off here with just the amazing fallout of what happened last night after the college football playoff rankings were released and all the fun that came with that and just the insane part of watching this train wreck in slow motion, but we're also on the track. It's one thing to watch it and to watch a train wreck and go, no, and you can't do anything about it. It's the other to be part of that train wreck and you're just watching it. If you're BYU, Utah, the Big 12, and you're watching this thing it's going to run you over because they've decided, I feel like it's already been decided how this thing is going to go. They've already figured it out for us. This wasn't part of the script. To have two Big 12 teams in. It just doesn't work out. We didn't plan for this. We got to get Miami in somehow. I know they're in 5th place in the ACC, but we got to get them in somehow, all right? Let's figure that out. Let's kick off the show, as we always do, though, right here, top of the program with The Cut.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Trajan Wealth brings you this portion of the program, TRAJANwealth.com. That's Trajan Wealth for all your trusted local needs in retirement, TrajanWealth.com. Okay, let's talk a little bit about it here. Oregon, look, they beat USC last week. That was a ranked win in the college football playoff rankings. They beat a ranked team who was a 2-loss team prior to that. That was a strong win for them, at least according to the metrics that the College Football Playoff Committee seems to go by. So Oregon leaps Ole Miss. How much of that? Let's start there. Because in terms of numbers, when we were going through, we thought it was just going to be rubber stamped. We thought that the Utah move down the list was going to happen, but we were actually shocked because then we're like, anyway, the rest should be all the same. And then we all looked up at the screen and went, oh, wait, hold on a minute. Ole Miss got put down to 7. That's something crazy. And so Oregon leaps Ole Miss. Michigan gets ahead of Texas, which is also another interesting add. It also feels like it's just like future placement. Like, hey, if they beat Ohio State, where do you put Michigan?
Oh yeah. Right.
I mean, where does that end up?
They get that sneaky
That little boost, and they're like, "Hey,
last
look!"
placement.
And if it's not Miami, you guys, that's what they're all saying. If it's not Miami, we got these guys in the back here in case they beat.
Everybody's gonna jump Utah.
Right.
Utah plays Kansas. It's not a big enough for a win. What do they call it? We need a more significant win.
No, is it style points now?
Yeah.
When in the history of this have we ever cared about how much you beat a team by for the win? Especially in years when teams are circling you every week because you have that small number next to you and they want to hunt you down and they want to make sure that they knock you off of this thing. Kansas State, that game against Utah, I know that it was a disaster of a defensive day, but Utah is still a significantly good defensive team. And the question is when they go, wow, they gave up all those yards in that win, they just didn't look convincing. And you go, what has to happen? The only thing that they ask you to do
is win.
In all of the sports that you've ever played in your entire life is if you win, then that's it. You know what I mean? Like there are ugly wins, absolutely, but they're wins. We don't allow them to be ugly wins and then we dock you the win. You don't get an extra category over here in wins and losses. It's wins and losses. That's it. You know what I mean? Like we took the draw out of college football a long time ago because it's stupid. And you go, no, we're not going to have ties to figure this thing out. So if you've eliminated the tie, if you've avoided the loss, then the only thing that matters is the W. And I get it. Here's the other thing. This wasn't an FCS opponent. This was freaking Kansas State. And by the way, you saw him up close and personal. And Avery Johnson has been doing this for people for a long time. Avery Johnson is as athletic as anybody who walks on a football field. He is as good as anybody. He's as shaky as anybody who's on the field. He will make you miss. He's quick. He's a pretty darn good thrower for how a dynamic of a runner he is, too. He doesn't get enough credit for that. And frankly, if you're Bird Ficklin and Devin Dampier, you'd be like, hey, study what this guy does because he runs really well. He's really great at hitting hitting that outside RPO and reading that and scooting up the field. But he also throws the ball on a pretty good line. And so that Kansas State team is a team before the year started and by the way, this is not a Kansas State team that came. This happened with BYU with TCU. They go, yeah, they beat them 44-13. But that was like a bad TCU team. And you go, they were 6-3. They're 7-4 now. They're likely to go on to win 9 games this year. Okay, and by the way, TCU beat SMU, who they're like propping up right now to go, hey, one of those possible playoff teams. So if it hasn't shown enough that I'm grumpy about it, Oregon leaps Ole Miss, Utah gets jumped by Miami, and we saw it coming. And I guess it's just shame on us because we've been trained like everybody else has to know that this was going to be the way to do it. But when you saw that and when you see where they've put Miami, that feels like Utah's college football playoff hopes were dashed just last night by being docked even that spot because it feels like there's nothing they could do against Kansas this week that would put them ahead of Miami, short of Miami losing to Pitt. And then even then, you wonder if they'll try to sneak another ACC team in there. All the ACC teams are kind of lining up in those low 20s, high teens.
Right.
They're ready to pounce at any moment. I'm discouraged by how college football has run some things this year, and it just feels awful.
This year?
Well, it gets worse year. I'm just saying it's been bad in the past.
I
It's been
feel like
worse.
there's a story every year.
Every year there's something that makes it a little bit chaotic. And when I say a little bit chaotic, this is when you incorporate subjective, we have a committee, and this is a bunch of smart people. The biggest
bunch of smart people.
I know. The biggest lie with this committee slide to me is we don't look at prior rankings. We just go in and we rank them week on week, and we just reset it every week. Then how is it that Notre Dame and all these same teams find themselves so far up, ahead of teams that they probably shouldn't be ahead of in these things? How is Miami getting that nod? How does that happen? Well, it's because it's been decided in people's heads before the season started that they'll be good. And then in some cases, you have to wait for them to be good. So when you saw that, what was your reaction to Utah going down to 13 after getting a win over the weekend?
Well, the problem is we talked about it, right? And we thought it was going to happen, right? They were just going to Miami was going to jump them if that happened. That's why we all voted against them because we were praying that they didn't win. But the fact that they did win, it just made it happen that way. But I wasn't. I don't know. I didn't. Since we knew it was going to come, knew it was going to happen, especially with the performance that Utah had defensively and how we're talking about style points, it just wasn't surprising, right? We just knew that was going to happen. And so for me, it goes to the whole deal. It's not just this year. It's every single year that it's something. And honestly, I think they thrive on that controversy. They thrive on people hating it or loving it and, having mixed emotions about it because there's always something to talk about with it. And so it's not going to be solved until there's a bigger playoff to where more teams can actually make their case because of college football having so many teams, right? There's one thing for the NFL, right? There's only 31, 32 teams, right? NBA, same thing. But when there's 118 possibilities of teams making 12 positions, you're going to find some controversy. And I think that's just where we're at right now. And until it gets bigger, until it gets more slated that the best teams are actually in it or worth it or even having an opportunity, there needs to be a wild card. Is there? Well, I guess football is always, a sudden death. There's not like a 4-game, 5-game series, right? But I think until this bracket is extended, which sucks, right? Because you're talking about the health of football players, that you have to extend the season that much more. It's always going to be controversy. So, again, this whole Miami jumping Utah wasn't surprised. The whole bump in Michigan up to 15 to have such a signature win over number one, that it could potentially jump them up five to six spots in that college football playoff to get them in just because of that win. And when we talk about these blue blood schools from Miami to Alabama, Georgia, Texas, and Michigan, Ohio State getting much more love and an opportunity than others because, again, we talk about this whole Notre Dame situation, right? Who are they going to lose to? I mean, they play Stanford this week. Let's say that they get surprised. Stanford comes out and plays some dang ball this week, right? Are they totally out of the picture? Because it makes no sense that this independent team continues to just be there, and they really aren't. They don't have a full schedule the way everybody else does. So it's always complexing when you get to this point in the season. But at the end of the day, as you said, win your games, and you don't have to be a part of the controversy.
Just win the games. And in BYU's case, I think what's hard, too, is watching a 10-1 BYU team
at 11.
At 11,
I feel like they've had a pretty good schedule too.
Their strength of schedule is 6th. And so when they show all the teams that are in front of them, the graphic that they had shown last night that ESPN put up was 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14 are all 2-loss teams. Now, you notice I skipped 11 in there because that's the only team that's not a 2-loss team in that stretch of 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14
right.
that they have one loss. And their strength of record, and they even put at the bottom of the screen on that graphic the strength of record for all those teams. And BYU has a higher strength of record of every one of them, including the 8, 9, and 10 teams on there. So what's the actual metric? Is it an eyeball test that we're not familiar with? Is it something else that we look at and we say, hey,
that's so crazy it looks like that?
It's kind of bonkers to see the explanation, because when the committee starts to go through and they sort of talk about it, I wonder what the real conversations are. You know what I mean? And I don't know if look, when they talk about Utah in the room, Mark Harlan has to walk out, right? That's the whole thing. He's got that's what they say. They have to recuse. If they're talking about a team that you're basically the representative of, you've got to recuse yourself, and they make them go out of the room while they talk about them, while they whisper behind your back about, man, let's see if we can figure out a way to get Miami ahead of these guys. Miami's got a tough road, I think, to still get in, and the reason is because they're not going to be in the conference championship game in the ACC. There are 4 teams ahead of them in the ACC standings. So they're tied for 4th in the ACC standings, and yet they're 13th in the national rankings, the highest-ranked ACC team in all the national rankings. And I get it. They're a 2-loss team. There are other teams in front of them in the ACC from the conference standpoint that have 3 losses. There's also UVA, who's a 2-loss team.
They talk about Virginia Tech. I mean, was Virginia Tech like...
No. Virginia Tech's a bad football team. Who's got an interim coach?
2-5 in conference, 3-8 in overall.
Right, and it was not like they blew those guys out.
They won by 2 touchdowns.
And I get it. They were there in Blacksburg. Fine, it's fine. I don't know if Utah would have won 51-31. What case
do you have?
I just wonder if Utah would have actually been ahead. Is it really that they had a poor performance against? When I say a poor performance, a poor defensive performance Is that the thing? Because I want to know what the actual metric is.
We want to be in the room, dang it.
Well,
I want to hear what your actual case, what are you actually presenting?
We were listening to
that makes you make that decision.
We were listening to Hunter Yurachek, who's the committee chair now after Mac Rhodes left. 6-7. And yeah, he threw the stupid 6-7 thing out there, and we'll get to that later, but my heavens. So in the end, though, his explanation is like, and we just really love the type of football that Oregon's playing right now. They're really good on offense and defense, and they're exceptional on special teams. And I'm like, are we having special teams discussions? Are we having special teams discussions in the committee room? There's no way. There's no way. So is there a standardized metric? Because they talk about strength of record, strength of schedule, strength of record. And then when it comes down to it, and these other teams have higher strength of record, but they're further back in the rankings, and then you go, well, what happened here? They go, yeah, just we feel like, and then we get to a weird point where you're having these conversations. I feel like so and so should be the national champion. That's how we used to crown the national champion. In fact, that's how we used to get a couple different ones. You'd have an AP champion, you'd have a USA Today champion, you'd have a
Isn't that the guys down south? That's how they got deemed champion?
Yes,
I feel like.
Oh yeah, but that's the thing is that they got a because that's how they used to do it. Right. That's why the Washington Huskies, when I was growing up, they were national champions, co-national champions. Why? Because Miami won the AP, or no, Washington won the AP national championship, and then like the coaches championship was like voted on, and it was Miami. But that's how we used to do it. Because heaven forbid we play it against each other, right? Because it's like, no, that's stupid. They're going to be in the Orange Bowl. That's what they play in. And then you play in the Rose Bowl. Anyway, and then we'll decide who the national champion is based off of that.
Right.
So yes, it was an imperfect system back then. And it was also busted by BYU back in the day. And they had to figure out a way to not have that again, where a BYU team ends up winning a national championship. And I'm not trying to do this victim thing like, oh, poor BYU and Utah. They're victims of not being in the SEC and the Big Ten, but it is hard to look at this and say,
without opportunity.
Well, what is the real metric that you're going by? I certainly hope it's not, they had a great special teams day. You should have seen their gunners. They're just really on top of the football on covering those punts. There's no freaking way. So, and I get it. I had somebody tweet at me and go, there's no way Utah should be ahead of Miami. Miami's best win is against Notre Dame, and Utah's best win is against Arizona State. That being said, Utah's 2 losses are to 2 top 11 teams. The number 5 team in the country and the number 11 team in the country.
Combined losses is 2 losses, yeah.
2 losses. And after that, they've just taken care of business. Who cares? Like, what is it, style points? And by the way, all you can do is beat the teams that are in front of you.
Well, yeah, I mean, style points, we lost to BYU by, 3?
On the road.
Texas Tech really blew the doors open late, so
right.
You take
know
that
what's funny about the Utah and BYU both are being talked about in this scenario. Really funny because they're like, yeah, but they got beat. They got obliterated by Texas Tech. I'm like, the number 5 team in the country? The number 5 team in the country. So they beat the best teams, the other 2 teams in the Big 12 who are in 2nd and 3rd place currently. It's like, that's one of the best teams in the entire country. So which one is it? You know what I mean? It's nice when Texas A&M does it. Comes back and beats a 3-7 South Carolina team. That was
like, whoa,
beautiful.
That's a stellar team. How they came back from that.
Right. A 1-point win at home against South Carolina, who's won 3 games this year. That's the standard, but that's the number 3 team in the country that did that. And again, then they go, well, it's. Think about the year you guys went undefeated in that 2008 season. It wasn't all pretty.
Oh, no.
And no one went back and went. Back then, you didn't
that
say
that New Mexico game when you only won by 3. It was a struggle through all that. You think you guys should have?
Because there are games you have to live through. You have to just. It's not pretty. You just have to get the win.
Right.
You just have to win.
Right.
So when you just win in front of these teams, and that's all you're doing is winning. It's just like the conversation with Miami and Utah was funny because they just went right to, hey, put them ahead of them. Why? Well, 51-47 against Kansas State. Kansas State has always been, in the past decade, better than Virginia Tech. Always. And this year they have more wins than they do, too. And this, I mean, do you see what I'm saying? Like, the apples-to-apples comparison is never going to be there. But tell me what the metric is, at least. Because it's not strength of record. It's not strength of schedule. And it's certainly, I don't understand what the quote-unquote style points are. Are they just talking about running it up? Are you just talking about you have to win by a certain amount? Because, by the way, even with that, Utah has beaten all of their conference opponents.
That needs to be slated as a metric, and that's what coaches would do. Because, like we talked, or they asked Coach Whittingham too. He's like, "Are you one for style points and this and that?" He's like, "No, I would never do that."
Kalani says the same thing. Yes,
which they shouldn't, right? It's like, look, I'm worried about and focused on playing good football. But if you're worried about placement and style points is a metric, and it's known that it's a metric, then of course you have to play for style points.
So they have a game against Kansas State, and that was the only win in conference play that they didn't win by 35 points, basically.
Right, 28
so that's
plus,
the one,
yes.
Right, and so now the average, instead of 35.3 that they've been beating their Big 12 opponents with, it's now down to 27.5. Well, for shame. You only win by 4 touchdowns in all your conference games instead of the 5. We prefer 5 for our folks to get in.
I'm not trying
to make a case for Utah to get in because I still think
but it's a head scratcher for whoever gets into that situation.
Look, all those teams, the reason that they're there, the lie is that they didn't look that prior polls don't matter. That's the lie. Prior polls matter. The AP poll, as much as people want to pretend like, oh no, we didn't look at that thing, then why is the AP poll and the college football playoff poll so darn close to one another, especially at the beginning? Why is it? Because when you have a preseason number 1 in Texas, they're still 15 at 7-3 because they can kind of hang around a poll when you're the number 1 team in the preseason.
Right.
Unless you're Florida State from a couple of years ago, and what did they do? They went 0-6 or whatever it was. They went 2-10. It was like, well, we can't put those guys in. But Notre Dame stuck around at the beginning of the season because they were a top 5 preseason ranked team, right? Top 5 preseason ranking. So they lose their first 2 games. And that was the other thing. This is what's crazy is normally when you lose late in your schedule, it's done for you.
Yeah.
Miami's lost 2 of their last 4 games. Okay? It has not dinged them like we thought that it was going to ding them. They just keep moving up.
And the ACC is not – nobody in the ACC is going to make your strength of schedule matter.
Look,
like if I take a loss to an ACC opponent, it's not supposed to be like, well, it's so-and-so.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's what's so hard about Miami even being in the mix.
Let's take a break. We'll come back. We have Steve Bartle, our Ute insider for KSLSports.com, who's going to join us. He's going to be getting on a plane this afternoon to go to Lawrence, watch the Utes and the Jayhawks facing off. I think it's the first time Utah's ever traveled to Kansas to play in Lawrence. I don't know. That's probably the first time you've ever gone to Lawrence, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's probably gonna, hopefully the last. No, you'll have to be there other times. Come on, man. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk with Steve about what this game looks like for Utah to be able to try to put together. All you have to do is get another win. That's all you have to do. That's all you're asked to do to get to a 10-2 regular season.
This is great.
Stay here. 97.5 KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best coverage of the Jazz, Utes, and Cougars is right here on The Zone. This is JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Covering the Utes better than anyone else, this is Ute insider Steve Bartle of KSLSports.com on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back to the program. Happy Wednesday to you. Reminder, it's a Win Ticket Wednesday. We got some tickets to give away a little bit later. Don't miss it. Let me see here. Steve Bartle, our Utah Utes insider for KSLSports.com, joining us here. Sly sitting in for JJ, who's I'm sure enjoying the time of his life as he's on a road trip to take his family to go hang out up in Idaho. No problem. This is what
I just envision JJ being Chris Farley from Billy Madison. Everybody
on the bus.
I'll turn this bus around in your
You're
precious
yelling.
field trip.
That Veronica Vaughn. Yeah. So Steve Bartle joins us on the program. Stevenson Sylvester, of course, played linebacker at Utah, played linebacker in the NFL for the Steelers, and so he dips in and gives us some of the ideas. That's why he was extra offended on Saturday by the lack of stopping the run by Kansas State.
Oof.
Steve, you were in that stadium. We talked a little bit about that earlier this week about how wild of a crowd that was, but some of the people left early, so some of the crowd wasn't there to cheer them on. What was your takeaway from this whole thing? Watching Utah go through this whole season, but get to 9-2, and on the cusp of going 10-2. What did you think of last week's game against Kansas State?
Yeah, one of the most incredible games that I've got to witness. From both sides, right? To watch Kansas State do what they did to Utah, it was really impressive because Utah has really dominated this season and really on both sides of the ball at Rice-Eccles Stadium. Outside of that Texas Tech game, they've had their way with the rest of the Big 12, and you just kind of grow accustomed to that being the case. And Kansas State came in, and throughout the week, I just had a feeling, right? You go back the week before, and Kansas State struggled against Oklahoma State. I think they won 14-6. The offense looked, pretty bad, and a lot of people talked about Kansas State having melded in, and they're done. They're quitting on the season, and I just had this sneaky suspicion that they were going to come out against Utah with something to prove, right? Obviously, it's easy to overlook Oklahoma State given the situation that they're in. And I think Kansas State came in ready to go, and they had a plan that Chris Kleiman installed and a message to his team. I think he talked about their desire to come into Rice-Eccles Stadium and run it down Utah's throat. And to their credit, that's what they did for 55 minutes of that game. It was shocking to watch Utah struggle and give up a big play after big play. It was a shock. I remember me and Furlong, we were at halftime, we were scrolling through the game log season after season looking for, the highest rushing total in a game, let alone a half, because we're looking at the number. It was, 348 at the half, and, just a shocking number. So, from that perspective, right, Kansas State coming in, punching Utah in the mouth, with this team, just continuing to fight back, continuing to press forward and fight till the bitter end. I think that, above all else, is what Kyle Whittingham prides himself on, that he's never going to die, he's never going to give in, and that's what we saw Saturday night is, Utah took the punches, but then, late in that game, they got that play on the 2-point conversion. Teo Johnson takes it the other way, and suddenly, that's the spark that Utah needed to get it going. And even despite, Devin Dampier's, fumbles that led to that touchdown score and that 2-point conversion play, to see Dev bounce back after that mishap and make the plays he did down the final 7 minutes of the game was really, really impressive. And like Whittingham said in his post-game presser, they were treated to a pretty special event. It was one for the ages, and the crowd that was there was still a pretty good presence of Utah fans. I would say probably 50% of the stadium emptied out, but the crowd that was there still made it when Dev ripped off that run and then got it into the end zone, and then Lander Barton intercepts the Avery Johnson pass a couple plays later. That was still one of the loudest moments that I've experienced being on the field at Rice-Eccles Stadium over the last few years.
Yeah, man, I've seen Coach Witt pissed off. I'm interviewing him as we go into halftime, but I haven't seen him that mad since UNLV 2007. We got blanked out on the scoreboard, and rightfully so. It just doesn't make sense. It was kind of a head scratcher, but in these games, right, you do have ugly games during the season where it's kind of a battle, but at the end of the day, you pull out the W. I kind of felt like, I don't want to know, Steve, were you feeling that from Kansas State? They were getting more and more energy with the stuff, because of course, Coach Witt alluded to it. He's like, it felt like basic power roll. It felt like basic away zone, basic counter, and we just weren't guarding well. Did you feel like Kansas State was getting more and more energy and more confidence, as they kept breaking runs and allowed it to get to 300-plus rushing yards in the first half?
Yeah, absolutely, and rightfully so, right? You see one, you've got that, you get hungry for the next one. And then you rip off another one, and you get hungrier for the next one. And there's just this growing belief and confidence that these players build when you see these big plays ripped off, right? When Utah the week before, despite what they did on the defense side of the ball, giving up 500 yards, they still made plays on that side. But the offense, ripping off big play after big play, it's a big motivating thing to get back out there and make the next big one.
Right.
And so, I think, for Kansas State, it was, it was as impressive a performance that I've seen. They just came out and really controlled the line of scrimmage, controlled the trenches, generated a lot of movement that made it difficult for Utah's linebackers to throw properly and to get downhill and get a clean hit on Joe Jackson and get a clean hit on Martin and Johnson and those guys. So it was an impressive performance, and they continue to build momentum. But again, getting back to Utah, you take those punches, and then you finally get a stop in that second half to kind of – that's where you start to build some of your confidence. And then you get it into that late fourth quarter. You finally get a couple of big stops again, and you make the play down the stretch to seal it. And I think that's just what this game is all about, is building play after play, momentum play after momentum play. That's really what this game is all about.
Steve, as you see this Kansas game and it looms, and obviously, I don't think Witt is the kind of guy that goes, we got to make sure to run it up on these guys. I think he likes to beat the heck out of teams because that's just the style of ball.
Physically, like the score doesn't need to showcase how bad you beat a team.
It has in a lot of these weeks, and I think Kansas is ripe for one of those because it feels like they're a team that has massively underperformed over the past 2 or 3 seasons, Steve. And so what do they have on the line as they welcome the Utes into Lawrence?
Yeah, Kansas, 5-6 on the year. They're going to be battling for bowl eligibility. So this is a big one for them, and this is also senior day, and they've got a pretty big senior class. With that, I was told I think it's going to be about 33 players that they honor on senior day. But with that, it's different than what it's been in years past, right? When you talk about senior day, because a lot of these guys, they're just here for a year and that sort of thing. So it's going to be an interesting dynamic, right? How many of these guys have been with Kansas for an extended period of time? I don't really know, but I think there is going to be motivation to come out and try to replicate what Kansas State did, right? I think that's where Kansas has found a lot of success, is in their rushing attack with Jalen Daniels and in that option with Daniel Highshaw and those guys. And they're going to try to do what Kansas State did. And for Utah, this is a great test to kind of showcase that, the work you put in this week to address those issues, to address those mistakes and mishaps and the lack of physicality, the lack of discipline and toughness that you need to defend the run. This is your opportunity to showcase that you can still be that dominant defense against the run. So this is going to be a great test for Utah because there are some interesting factors going into it. It's going to be a tricky game with it being a Friday morning game, the day after Thanksgiving. I know the team is going to be flying out Thursday night and getting there that night and all that. But I think this is going to be a tough test and a good test. And despite the record, Kansas has been competitive. They've just given up games late in the second half where they're competitive. They're going back and forth for 3 quarters, but then they just fail to make the plays in that fourth quarter. And so for Utah, you don't want it to get there, right? You don't want it to get to that fourth quarter where Kansas is hanging around, lingering, and because they're going to want to prove that they can get it done. And against Utah, with that number 13 ranking attached to their name, that's a big opportunity for them to get to bowl eligible, to send the seniors off with a win, and to make a statement that, the thing that you struggled with all season, you finally overcame it, you finally figured that out. I know that's something Lance Leipold is going to be harping on this week with his guys as well. So this is going to be a good test. And obviously, given the record of Kansas, it's not going to do much for Utah in terms of, helping their resume and all of that sort of stuff. But this is going to be one where you have to go in this taking care of business and come in there with that mindset.
Yeah, you've now had a few days since the game has kind of let off and been able to see everything. I want to get your impressions of Coach Witt, right? After that crazy up and down wild finish on Saturday from the post game, him to his Monday press conference. I know you were there, and now a couple days after there was practice last night and Monday. What have you gotten vibe from Coach Witt and how he's feeling about this moment, of course, about this season, and then, of course, his whole career?
Yeah, I think obviously we understand where Kyle is at in his career, right? He is in the twilight of his career. He's in the final, days, months, years, to go that far. He's in the final couple stretches of his career. That's the stage that he's in. And so, each and every moment is kind of a unique one because it could be the last, right? It could be the last that Kyle gets to coach Utah in Rice Central Stadium. And I think it was really telling. I shouldn't say telling, but I think we all read into, his press conference when he, got choked up talking about the seniors and this being their last opportunity to get a win at Rice Central Stadium. I thought that was really interesting. But I in terms of how he's approached this season, we know Kyle, he doesn't want it to be, he doesn't want to be a distraction. He wants the focus to be on his guys, on his team. And that's kind of the approach he's taken all season, is focusing on his players, his coaches. And I think he doesn't want it to be a problem. He doesn't want it to be a distraction. And so, I don't know where Kyle is at in terms of
nobody knows. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know where he's at in terms of coming back next year or retiring. There's, having conversations with people. There's plenty that side on both sides of that discussion. But I know that Kyle, he's still sharp. He's still, energetic. He's still coaching with a passion that you love to see. And I think, for him, I think he is taking greater appreciation of, where he's at in his career. It's been interesting to follow him over the last 5 years, being up there at just about every press conference, being able to talk to him in the post game, and just kind of getting a feel for Kyle and who he is. And I do feel like there's been more of that appreciation for the bigger picture and that sort of stuff from him this season. So we'll see what happens with Kyle. Obviously, but I think he's still capable of coaching next season and beyond. But I think the emotion was really interesting to see for him, to say the least.
All right, Steve Bartle, our Ute insider for KSLSports.com. Steve, have fun out there in, whatever version of fun they have out there in Lawrence, and enjoy the holiday tomorrow a little bit, and have some turkey on us. And you know what? You slide that P card at a turkey place, and you say Alex gave you permission to be able to have some of that. So have fun out there, man. We're looking forward to what you guys put out there online, and we'll follow all of it.
Appreciate you guys. Happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your time, all right?
There you go. Steve Bartle, everybody. Absolutely.
That guy works, man.
He does.
He is out there. Gotta appreciate his work. Absolutely love it, man. It's crazy. Yeah.
I wonder what this is gonna. I'm kind of going back and forth on Twitter with some of these guys chatting about, like, it is
Twitter. Come on now.
I don't really love it, but it is. I mean, I'm not fighting. They make great points. It's just like, look, it's the same thing we talk about like every year. Bad losses versus good wins versus like okay wins versus okay losses. Like, we have these back and forths, and you're like, what does that even freaking mean? A decent, that was an ugly win. It's like, you just freaking won. Who cares? Just get it done. I don't know. I'm just bracing for the ridiculousness of the explanation of what we're going to get in a couple of weeks if BYU falls in the championship game. If Texas Tech loses to BYU, like, come on, they're going to stay, right? I have no idea, because I feel like then they'll be in this two-loss mix where everybody goes, yeah, but let's look at your SOR and your SOS and your PPI. And it's like, come on, man. I'm not doing it. I don't want to get into all that. There's no way that two ACC teams should get in this year in a weak ACC year and not two Big 12 teams being considered. It's crazy to me. All right. We'll come back. We got more to go around the corner when we return a Would You Rather, a holiday edition of Would You Rather. So stay here, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Listen, everybody. Real-life hypotheticals to get your brain churning. As JJ and Alex ask, would you rather?
Welcome back. It is JJ and Alex on 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone, a Wednesday edition of the program, getting you ready for Thanksgiving. Stevenson Sylvester sitting next to me here in the studio. I feel like we need to turn more lights on. This feels weird.
No. Sunglasses have to go darker then. So
I guess to justify your sunglasses in the studio, which, by the way, even if there were a even if there's just a spotlight on you, you would still keep them on. I mean, if there was just like, if it was
I got
just,
him on at night at Rice Eccles Stadium, dang it.
it is always fun to watch Sly on TV. I always look for him on the TV broadcast. Because you're like, there's always, and it doesn't matter. There's always like security and stuff like that, and guys who like are kind of half paying attention to the game. There'll be like a ball boy who gets a little too into it, you know, and you're like, ooh, that guy. I don't know if his bosses want to see him wearing that, wearing the ball boy vest and then jumping up and down or pointing at the opponent. And I've seen some like trash talk from some of those guys. When I see Sly has this. I'll do it for the camera. He's right here. He's got this wide set stance, and you see these legs out like this, and it's like he's breaking down like he's going to hit somebody. And you're like, this guy. And I remember watching him during the Rose Bowl in one of those when Mekhi Bernard caught that ball in the corner end zone.
I was down there.
Sly's got his like microphone in his hand, and he's like, "Oh yeah!" And I'm like, "This freaking guy, dude."
I'm just like everybody else. I'm a fan. I am a football nerd, a junkie. I absolutely love this stuff. I'm just down there doing exactly what everybody else is doing in the stands.
I know. It's funny to watch. All right. I've got a would you rather. What's the worst holiday for family get-togethers?
The worst?
The worst holiday for family get-togethers.
Oof.
You know, is it getting together on a 4th of July and it's hot and it's kind of, and you're kind of, maybe the barbecue's happening outside. Thanksgiving, I think it gets maligned for being like the place where everybody dumps all their political views. But that can happen anywhere.
Anywhere.
And frankly, I think it happens
regular
at
Tuesday
all. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Taco Tequila Tuesday night.
You settle down. You incorporated it into a Taco Tequila Tuesday?
Hey, now. Triple T.
That is like LeBron James like, Taco Tequila Tuesday. Like, whoa, settle down. You lush. Jeez. So my question is, what's the one that you guys get together as a family? What's the one that causes the most problems?
The most problems or the one that you can do without?
Maybe both, because it doesn't help. It causes problems, and so it's easy to go, you know what, we're gonna go ahead and avoid that one.
Here's the thing, and why I'm probably not the guy to ask.
I get along with everybody. That's BS.
It is that too, but at that same point, I'm probably the guy causing the trouble most of the time, so I have a different perspective. So I don't know if I'm the right person to call.
That's a great question. Nobody wants to invite us to anything, so back to you.
Everybody hates us, and I don't know why. No. Is it me? Am I the common denominator?
I guess if you meet 10 jerk family members, I might be the jerk. Hold on.
I don't know. For me, the one that we can do without is probably Easter. I could do without that family get together on that.
Yeah,
that one just
feels
it feels overdrawn. Of course, I think a lot of people are getting away from the meaning of holidays anyway. But,
Easter especially. Like they don't even know what they're doing there.
Right. I think we could do without that one. Thanksgiving, I absolutely love it. There's just way too much activities going on for that to be taken away, right? From the football. Who was talking about turkey trot? You were talking about turkey trot
Turkey
earlier.
trots, get out of here. Who does that? If you're doing a turkey trot, trying to show us all up,
I got friends, actually, I got to see if they're doing it. They normally do like a little charity run out in Sugar House Park.
That's fun.
And they take shots of wild turkey and then go do like a 3-mile run.
Again, with the alcoholic friends you have.
Hey, man, choose your friends wisely.
You know what's funny? I used to live by Sugar House Park. And back in the day when I used to actually run, I would, every weekend, by the way, there's a charity run at Sugar House Park, a 5K.
It's great.
And I would go what they would call bandit the race, which is just I'd hit my thing on my watch and I'd run. They'd try to give me a T-shirt at the end. I'm like, no. Like I would avoid it, and I would actually, but they're watching you. They're like, "Where's your number?" And you're like, "Huh?
Why are you here?"
And all I'm trying to do is just get skinnier. I just don't want to be as fat. And I'm like, look. I like being. I appreciate. What is this? Oh, okay. Oh, great. I'll be a part of your charity. But the thing is that at Sugar House Park on any given weekend, there's basically a charity run.
Right.
And I lived right there, so I was always like, it's kind of nice to kind of be running against the clock. I'm not into winning all your stuff, but come on. Here's the thing about these holidays. When you do have football, it makes it easier.
Yes.
Because I can go straight downstairs at my in-laws' house and sit on the couch down there and watch football, and I can avoid. Now I have exceptional in-laws, so we don't have like a lot of back and forths, too many back and forths.
Well, I get along with everybody.
See, this guy's the problem at the party, isn't he? This guy's the freaking problem. I'm finding out now. Holy dang it.
I am the antagonist. I've been sending memes all week to my family already. Talking to my
He's sending political views. He's doing all this. Have you guys seen this that was said on
my cousin's a
InfoWars?
bodybuilder.
Yeah.
My cousin's a bodybuilder, so she sends a meme talking about like how I walk into Thanksgiving when knowing everybody else doesn't lift and whatever. I was like, so how do you walk in with stank breath?
Oh,
show us a video of how you walk in with
this
I'm
guy.
that guy. And then we just went back and forth for the next hour. So
female family members too.
Oh, anybody can get it.
Okay.
If you got enough to pop off, you better be able to take it, because I ain't stopping. Like even last week, right? Like the Cowboys won, right? And I got a friend who I've been giving crap to forever. She texts me. He's like, yeah, my Cowboys. I was like, please keep texting me. Please keep texting me. Because when January comes around, I want to have no excuse to let up. I'm going to text you. When these playoffs happen and the Cowboys lose again in the wild card or don't make it at all, I'm going to send you a barrage of social media reels. I'm one of those guys that you just didn't watch 300 of my reels I sent? How dare you? How dare you? I'm that guy. Sorry, I am.
It's like you show up to the family thing and there's always a guy who goes, you know, the moon landing was faked, right? And I just turn right back around and I go, all right, I'm out of here. All right.
That's my uncle.
Everybody's got it. We'll take a break. We'll come back. When we return, Riley Nelson, former BYU and Utah State quarterback, going to join us on the program, give us some thoughts on how this season is shaken out for BYU, how to finish strong for BYU, and then what a conference championship game looks like in year 3 in the Big 12 for this BYU team. Stay with us. More to go. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.